Imagine a place where the boundaries of age, industry, background, and culture melt away, replaced by a shared desire to explore the depths of our collective experiences here on the open, shaded porch. Amidst an atmosphere of serenity and tranquility, leaders from all walks of life gather to share their stories, the stories that shape their very beings and doings. This is the Knowledge Mindfulness Porch with Laila Maroof.
This week on the porch, I'm joined by Ode Dixon, the founder of Deep Rhythm. As an educator and homeschool mom, Ode develops dance curriculums that empower young people, boosting their confidence and capabilities. With over a decade of nursing experience, she brings a unique blend of expertise and empathy to her community work. Welcome to the podcast, Ode.
Oh, thank you so much, Laila. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. It has been a couple of years back when we first met. Remember?
It was during COVID shutdown. That was back in 2020. I was in a community put together by the amazing Peter Diamandis, who teaches all things digital worlds and like the AI we're seeing right now, and all the chat GPT and all that. These were things that Laila and I were privy to 3 years ago. So anyways, I joined this community. Everybody was looking for one way or another to connect with like-minded people. This community brought together different people who were forward-thinking and looking to advance whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be in technology. Any field of work, this was kind of like a hub. So this was where we met and we shared so many things in common. We were learning a whole lot of new insights into the world of creativity and the digital world, tech, this, that, and knowledge sharing, and how all of those things connect together. It was so fascinating for me.
You know, Ode, I think you were a very, very, very inspiring force in my life then, because I have learned so much from you and you inspired me. You remember we talked about my vision of writing a book. I remember those days in 2020 when we started talking about that. And I just want to let you know that I have documented this in the book that was published back in October with the name of Knowledge Mindfulness. And you are in that book, Ode, and how we met, some of the memories are all there. But I want to tell you about the most inspiring, I think, thing for me was your story that goes decades back when you were a nurse. And I remember I was so astonished that you decided to leave nursing after decades of serving there. And you said to me, you know what, I just decided to rewire. I'm leaving nursing and I'm gonna, embark on a new journey. And that was such a moment for me. I was astonished. Your courage, your willingness to do that. Tell me something, Ode. How do you do it? How do you keep doing? You rewired then, I remember. Can you tell us what are, the competencies, what are the things that kind of plays like a force to help you do that?
Yeah. So actually, I spent 12 years in nursing, 5 years bedside, and the other 7 years I was training and education. I ran my own school then, training other allied healthcare professionals. Even between bedside and transitioning to something that was more entrepreneurial and owning my own school and empowering others, the majority of my students then were like single mothers in mostly Black neighborhoods. These are neighborhoods where resources are scarce and, people are just trying to get by. So my motivation really is that no matter what it is, you can empower people. Um, you can give to a world where so much, so much is so unequally distributed. And for me, I'll always find opportunity where I can impact people. So living bedside to even another part of nursing where I was able to give back and empower people to do what was helpful to them in their life has always been there in the back of my mind. I'm always looking for that zeal to go out into the world to do more, no matter what the situation presented. So after those years in nursing combined, we were moving to Florida from Georgia then. My husband had retired. We were always, we had it in the back of our minds that we were going to be moving. At that time, we contemplated going to, returning home to Africa, but it wasn't well solidified yet. However, Florida was always a place we visited. We're a boating family. We had, we had our boat then. I will drag it back and forth to Florida. And so when my husband retired, we just thought, okay, we'll just go to Florida where we can easily get into the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic to do our boating exploitation. So we made that move. And once again, it was still that part of that always trying to reach and do something different. So once we got to Florida, I also wanted to explore some other parts of my life, things that I was doing before, so I went back into dancing and teaching dance to different groups and institutions.
Amazing. So you're always excited about change. You seem to be embracing change. It's kind of like a fire to you. You're not fearful of change, right?
I am not. And it's amazing because I come across a whole lot of people you will hear a lot of people talk about how much they need change in their life, whether so many different situations where they could use a change. However, daring to bring about the change is, I don't know what it is, but it's terrifying. It's terrifying. But this is one area that I'm adventurous like that. I feel like it's one life to live, and there is so much out there to explore that I will not die happy if I don't go out there to see what's possible. So change for me is actually a motivator. I want to see all what else is possible. I just like to try different things.
That's amazing. That's really inspiring, I think. And it's not only that you take that step as, a single person. You have kids and you're taking that step with your children, which is also for me is like a big aha. Like, wow, what a move, what courage you need to do that. And I think I want to really explore this further, Ode, which is when you decided to leave back to Africa and with your children, you told me then that you decided to homeschool them. And I want to spend some time understanding the process of homeschooling and how do you design a curriculum for your children who I think by now are in their teens. How old are they?
The oldest is going to be turning 15 in 2 weeks. And so the 14-year-old who is almost 15, and then the 12-year-old who's going to be 13 in March, and then we have the 10-year-old. So 3 teenager and a 10-year-old. So you are right about taking your family along on a journey like this is even more like a whole bigger deal than if you were doing this as a single person. So homeschooling was actually something that we were already exploring for a while. We were exploring homeschooling from the 2018-ish, I was already in groups. I was still on Facebook. I'm no longer there. But anyways, I joined groups. I was asking questions. I was trying to understand exactly how that whole process works and everything. And then boom, COVID happened, and all of us, everybody who has school-age children, were literally forced into virtual schooling. So this was kind of like the almost like the first push, whether you like it or not, to go virtual. So even though I had been exploring, we weren't all the way sure about it. Once we got into the whole virtual schooling that everybody was thrusted into from COVID, we didn't turn back. It was just from then on, we started even asking more questions. Then we found out what the process was to properly homeschool. We sent in the request to the school system and let them know that we were transitioning to homeschool. You actually had the option during the COVID time. When it was time to return to classroom, they gave you the option to stay virtual if you wanted to. Virtual is not exactly the same as homeschooling. Virtual, you were still kind of tied to your school, the school system you were on. However, if you wanted to homeschool, there were different ways to homeschool. Homeschooling takes different, it's a whole world out there for those who don't know about homeschooling. But homeschooling, you could do a whole curriculum all by yourself at home, or you could plug into other homeschooling platforms that are out there. But however, there's a process to it. You have to write to the school and let them know you're moving from the regular school into homeschooling. So you have to properly withdraw the children. And after you do that, you still have to be connected to a school system because you will be sending in their portfolio. So whatever they learn at the end of the year, there's a due date for you to send it in. So it doesn't matter whether you are doing like a curriculum you designed up by yourself or you're doing some other platform, you still have to kind of report it back that the kids are, progressing through their comprehensive education. So we did all that, did the proper withdrawal, and then after much research, so to answer your question, how do you design a homeschooling curriculum? It's really totally up to the parents, what you want for your children. Our children were still really, really young. The oldest was maybe 10, 11-ish. So we made a lot of those decisions. Now we really seek their input a lot more than at that time because they were, just not capable of doing that. So for me, the way I wanted to do it, and I proposed it to my husband, and we all agreed, was let's research the best education systems out there in the world. So in the world level, I researched best education systems out there. Unfortunately, America, to be shockingly, was not even coming up in some of the areas which already we were seeing problems with. The public school education system had some serious issues that not just me, a whole lot of family were just kind of not feeling anymore. So when I started doing the research, I wasn't even shocked to see that I was not even coming top 10 in some areas. Wow. So anyways, just doing those research opened our eyes a lot. We really liked Singapore. We liked Finland. And so then we also researched Africa. Since we're coming to Africa, what schools are doing the best there? We knew we were not going into a traditional school system, but we wanted to kind of pick what's working, where the best performers, what are they doing? My home country wasn't up there either. So anyway, so in Africa, Seychelles was doing really, really great. So then we zoomed into those school systems and went into their back office. All this stuff is online for you to see, by the way, any parent who is willing to put in the work. We went in, we read and see what they are doing well. Finland topped it for us. Finland is very big on like the whole comprehensive education for a child. It was so different from what we were doing in the US. Finland, they don't push these standardized testing at all. They actually have just one standardized testing at the end of K-12. That's when the child tests. And the testing, because Finland, you're going to either go to skill-based education, higher education, or you're going into like a traditional university. So that test is really how they kind of used to place them wherever they want to go. So anyways, we pulled elements from the schools that were doing the best, and we thought we can incorporate that into what we're going to do with the children. So that's what we did. However, for the core subjects that they learn, we use a platform online. They have different platforms online that you can use. We use one called Time for Learning, which has all the core subjects. They have a bunch of them there. We explored a few ones, but we really liked Time for Learning. Recently, we started using IXL, which is kind of like a assessment based one. And then we incorporated some other things that we do with the boys. My husband teach them boating extensively. I teach them other aspects of what I do. My son actually cook complete meals. I teach him how to cook. It's amazing. You can do it however way.
That is amazing. But it seems like, my God, it's such a challenge. It feels like it's so much work that, on top of all the things that we even used to in parenting, with the schooling system, what are the challenges? I mean, it sounds amazing, but I'm sure there are challenges. So what's your biggest challenge when it comes to homeschooling?
Like everything else, of course, there are challenges. You're right. One of the challenges that we encountered at the beginning, we didn't know all the different options we had for homeschooling. So because of that, you panic almost like, oh my goodness, I'm not, what am I? I'm doing something wrong. Maybe they're not learning enough. Maybe, it's not organized enough. So you are almost pulled back into the traditional education system that you are running away from because you are not sure. You're not sure of this whole new approach. And so you're going to panic. We panicked. So because of that, we were almost leaning back into the traditional education system that we didn't care for anymore until we understood clearly all the different paths that we could take and all the different options we had. So that's one challenge. If you don't take time to understand the process really, really well, you can just fall back into the things that were not working for you in the first place. That's one. For us, in particular, when we got to Nigeria, where there are location-specific challenges that we dealt with, the power, when I say power, I'm talking about electricity in Nigeria, it's not stable. So if you have homeschooling students that are getting on the internet to learn, that was a big challenge for us, so for people who be in like remote places or off-grid, you have, you rely on an online platform. You have to have constant electricity, at least the hours that they're going to be learning. And then, of course, stable internet. So those challenges were quite difficult that we struggled with at the beginning until we were able to get to where we could manage them better. So those were those are some major challenges that I can think of right away. But otherwise,
I want to hear the good part of that story, which is, what did you see different in your 3 kids now from this whole experience of homeschooling, of being out there? What are the life lessons that they have been learning so far?
This one is so powerful that I just don't know, Laila, how when you are a parent of course, you have 2 children, but when you spend that much time with your children, you will be surprised to know how people are different. Like these three boys all learn differently. Things I didn't even know so much when we were in the traditional school system. I couldn't have noticed that, like very, very tiny things. My middle child, touchy-feely, he touches everything. If he sees like fire that is green, the fact that this flame is green, it's not blue, it's not what he's used to, it's not yellow, he's gonna stick his finger because it's green, and he's just about to find out that he got burnt. Oh my God, that's fire. I'll never do it again. That's the middle one. He touches and feels his way through everything. And it's so fascinating that I really had to be with, like before, this is something you would probably like, oh my God, stop touching. But once I knew that, oh my God, this boy actually learns from touching. He touches and he learns. He can be in the kitchen, he'll feel. And that was just like a little life, like, I guess, kinetic learners, people who touch, who learn by touching. And then my oldest, that one, he's a narrator. He can just tell you the whole story of the dream he had last night, Laila. And you're going to have to get your lunch, your coffee, because if you're going to sit down and he's going to narrate every detail for you. So anyways, just being that close and understanding how so different people learn was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing because, I already knew this. That was one of the problems why we left the traditional education system, why you're going to standardize testing for different children that have different abilities. It's like testing a fish and a monkey on how to swim, and you score them and you say, hey, this fish is amazing. Of course, the monkey's not going to know how to swim. So it's like that. People are different. People learn differently. Children do too. So that for us, just kind of zooming in on how children learn differently has been amazing for us. It's been wonderful.
So these reflections, I'm sure somehow, did it really affect your programs? Because I know you have been into teaching, of course, many programs back in the States, things that to do with dance and mind and movement. So all these insights that you have been learning, even from homeschooling your kids, did you integrate all these insights into your own programs of teachings?
Of course. So when I had my school was a workforce development. It was basically like a workforce development. So when I see my kids in our homeschooling program now, besides the core, subjects that they have to learn, almost everything else, I approach it like, how can they transfer this into a usable skill? Like, this is the back of my, like, I'm looking at them and saying, how can you use this type of, this knowledge you're acquiring? How might it become useful to them? So there is this thing called micro-credentialing. I don't know if you've heard about it. Kids can acquire little micro skills here and there in everything that they learn. Like, they can just be credentialed in the ability to slice onions. That's a micro skill that they've learned, or just little things here and there. So I've combined all these different ways that I've observed that people can learn and really empower themselves or enhance themselves in the future into not just my kids' school, but just, different ways that I feel people can improve themselves. You can just continually grow yourself in getting good or getting better at the things that interest you. You can build a whole skill set of things to use. But yeah, it's been very helpful for me in my own programs.
My God, for today's world, Ode, I think these are so important because things are changing so fast. These competencies are incredibly crucial. What we require now are transformative skills that can be applied across various contexts, not confined to a narrow specialty that cannot be replicated elsewhere. I completely understand, and there's more I'd like to discuss with Ode. However, we'll have to pause here. Next time on the Knowledge Mindfulness Porch, Ode Dixon will be sharing some advice for educators worldwide.
For every educator out there, let the child guide you. You are going to help them with the tools they need, but don't think that because you are the adult in that situation, you gotta give them the rules, you gotta do this. No. No, it doesn't work like that.
You have been listening to the Knowledge Mindfulness Porch with Laila Marouf. If you want to join the movement of knowledge mindfulness and shape the world of tomorrow, go to drlailamarouf.com. The Knowledge Mindfulness Porch is a production of Forbes Books.